have not truly listened to anyone in years. Not your partner, not your friends, not the person speaking to you right now. And a philosopher who died at 34, who starved herself to death, rather than eat more than French prisoners were receiving, said this is not a personal failure. It is a catastrophe. Her name was Simone Weil, and the idea she left behind, written before smartphones, before social media, before the attention economy had a name, is the most important thing anyone has ever said about why modern life feels so empty. Simone Weil was born in Paris in 1909. She was reading ancient Greek philosophy at 12. At 22, she began teaching philosophy and giving her entire salary to unemployed workers. She took leaves from teaching to work in factories, not to study workers from the outside, but to understand from the inside what industrial labor does to a human being. What she found destroyed her philosophically. She wrote, "There I received forever the mark of slavery, not because of the physical suffering, but because of what the system did to thought, to attention, to the inner life of every person inside it." She called this affliction. And affliction, for Weil, was not just suffering. Affliction is different. Affliction is the specific kind of suffering that attacks the soul itself, that strips a person of their sense of worth, that makes them feel not just hurt, but superfluous, unnecessary, like nothing. And she observed something about affliction that no one else had articulated with this precision. The afflicted cannot speak about what has happened to them, not because they are inarticulate, but because affliction is something those who have not experienced it genuinely cannot hear. She wrote, "It is something specific, irreducible to any other thing, like sounds we cannot explain at all to a deaf-mute. And so the afflicted person cries out and receives in return policy, management, charity, systems designed to process their suffering rather than encounter it. This," Weil said, "is not help. It is the sophisticated performance of help that allows those doing the helping to avoid actually looking. What the afflicted need," she said, "is not solutions. It is attention." And this is where her philosophy arrives at its center. For Weil, attention was not focus. It was not concentration. It was not the cognitive effort of directing your mind towards something. Attention, in Weil's deepest sense, was the complete suspension of the self. She wrote, "The soul empties itself of all its own contents in order to receive into itself the being it is looking at, just as he is, in all his truth. Not filtering the other person through your assumptions, not preparing your response while they speak, not categorizing their experience through the framework of your own. Emptying yourself completely so that the other person, as they actually are, can enter you. What are you going through?" And then waiting, silently, without agenda, without rushing toward a resolution, allowing what the other person is experiencing to actually land. Weil called this a miracle. She was not being poetic. She meant it literally, genuine attention. Attention that fully receives another person without agenda is so contrary to how human attention normally operates that when it occurs it represents something extraordinary, because the default of human attention is self-referential. Even what we call compassion, Weil said, is often something else disguised. She distinguished sharply between pity and attention. Pity, she wrote, consists in helping someone in misfortune so as not to be obligated to think about them anymore. Attention is different. Attention means I identify with the afflicted person so fully that I feed them for the same reason I feed myself, because we are both hungry, because their reality has entered me, and I can no longer pretend otherwise. Now, she described attention as almost miraculous, in a world designed to fragment it far less aggressively than ours. We have built, at extraordinary scale, the most effective attention destruction machine in human history. Every platform you use is optimized to capture your attention, fragment it, sell it, and return it to you slightly more fractured than before. And in our relationships, when was the last conversation you had where neither party was anywhere other than that room? Weil said the deepest need of every human being, deeper than food, deeper than shelter, is to be seen. Not observed, not processed, not managed by the social system that surrounds them. Seen fully, as they actually are. And she said, this seeing is becoming impossible. Not because people have stopped caring, but because the capacity required, sustained, ego-free, agenda-free attention is being systematically destroyed. By every system we have built, by every platform we have accepted, by the ambient noise we have allowed to fill every silence. And the consequence, in Weil's framework, is not merely social disconnection. It is moral catastrophe. Because for Weil, attention was the foundation of ethics itself. Justice does not begin with law or rights or systems. It begins with the willingness to look at another person, fully, without flinching, and allow their reality to matter to you. She wrote, "The spirit of justice and truth is nothing other than a particular kind of attention, which is pure love. A society that cannot pay attention cannot be just." So what is she asking of you? Practice attending. The next time someone speaks to you, put everything down, not performatively, actually. Empty your agenda, empty your response, empty your interpretation. Ask, what are you going through? And wait, not for a pause in which to speak. Just wait. Weil said this simple act, genuinely performed, gives another person something nothing else can give them. The experience of being real, of existing, not as a role or a problem to be solved, but as a person with a reality that matters. She died in 1943 of tuberculosis complicated by malnutrition. She had refused to eat more than the ration French prisoners were receiving. She was 34. The coroner ruled she had killed herself. This was not performance, not ideology. It was attention, taken to its absolute conclusion. In a world that commodifies attention, fragments it, sells it, harvests it, Weil's question is the most radical thing you can ask. Not, how do I get more attention? But, am I capable of giving it? Fully, without agenda, without the self getting in the way. To the person in front of you, right now, who may be going through something you will never know about, because you never asked. This is Philokimi. We will see you in the next one.